mercy of Krishna and the other is our personal effort. You need both. But you notice that one finger's longer than the other? Krishna's mercy is the most powerful. Although you could probably make an argument for the mercy of the Vaishnavas being more powerful than Krishna. What do you think, Ram? I don't know. Because Krishna won't forgive you. But if a Vaishnava forgives you, then you're forgiven. And if you commit offense against... So is the mercy of the Vaishnavas more powerful than Krishna's mercy? I think so. Maybe I've got it wrong. Jairaro Marava Kunda Bihari Jairaro Marava Kunda Bihari Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari Jasura Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasura Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Chamunitira Vanatari Jamuna Tiravanatari Tiravanatari Jaya Raro Marava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabalaba Girivanadari Girivanada Jasuranandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanatari Tiravanatari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Don't hover. Do it. Hare Rama Hare Rama Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Paribhajakachaya Asita Shish Mindis Divine Sabai Charan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namchar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Shikoho Shukaschaitana Prabhu Nityananda Shadwaita Gadada Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Say Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mathura Dham Ki. Dwarka Dham Ki. Navadi Dham Ki. Jagannathpuri Dham Ki. Chamuna Maya Ki. Ganga Maya Ki. Tulsi Maharani Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Samveda Bhakti Vinda Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Say Siddhara Giridhari Ki. Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki. Gopremanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the divine Lotus Sita, Sri Guru and Gauranga. We could give this just a touch more, just a touch. Yeah. We don't pay by the voltage, I don't think. Huh? A little, just a touch. Because my voice is, hey, Hare Krishna. That was a pleasant surprise. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yeah, thanks. But now I can't find the notes for the class. There was a man who, he was from Arkansas, but he was a professor at University of Michigan. And I said to him, and he'd had an interesting life, been through a lot. And I remember saying to him one time, man, if it's not one thing, it's another. He said, no, son, it'll be both. Had some insight into the material nature. I told him, one devotee said, you know, if I'd just done it this way, if I'd just done that, if I hadn't done this, I'd done that, it all would have worked out great. He said, you know, son, there's more than one way to be wrong. Which is pretty true, you know, when you actually think about it. We always think if I'd just done this, everything would have been great. No. Something else would have happened. Okay, so now we've got that. Let's get this. The Bhagavatam verse, which by my calculation is the 3rd canto, chapter 33, text 8. Hey, harmonic convergence. And we said Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yeah? Okay. Tam Tvam Aham Brahma Param Pumamsam Pratyak Shrotasi Atmani Sambhivavyam Swa Tejasa Dasta Guna Pravaham Bande Vishnum Kapilam Veda Garbam. I'm just looking at what Veda Garbha means. Repository of the Vedas. That's far up. I'm trying to remember the tune. Don't help me out. Tam Tvam. That's not Brahma Samhita. Tam Tvam Aham Brahma Param Puma. Okay, that'll work. Tam Tvam Aham Brahma Param Pumam Sam. Pradyakshotasyatmani samvibhavyam. Svatvejasadvasta guna pravaham. Bande Vishnum Kapilam Vedagarbham. Tam Tvamaham Brahma Param Pumam Sam. Pratyakshotasyatmani samvibhavyam. Svatvejasadvasta guna pravaham. Bande Vishnum Kapilam Vedagarbham. Tam Tvamaham Brahma Param Pumam Sam. Pratyakshotasyatmani samvibhavyam. Svatejasadvasta guna pravaham. Bande Vishnum Kapilam Vedagarbham. Tam Tvam Maham Brahma Param Pumam Sam. Pratyakshotasyatmani samvibhavam. Svatejasadvasta guna pravaham. Vande Vishnum Kapilam Veda. Tvam Tvamaham Brahma Param Sam. Pratyakshotasyatmani samvibhavyam. Svatejasadvasta guna pravaham. Vande Vishnum Kapilam Vedagarbham. Tam Tvamaham Brahma Param Pumam Sam. Pratyakshotasyatmani samvibhavam. Svatejasadvasta guna pravaham. Bande Vishnum Kapilam Vedagarbham. Tam, unto him. Tvam, you. Aham, I. Brahma, Brahman. Param, supreme. Pumam Sam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pradyakshotasi, turned inwards. Atmani, in the mind. Sambhibhavyam, meditated upon. Perceived. Svatejasa, by your own potency. Dvasta, vanished. Gunapravaham, the influence of the modes of material nature. Bande, I offer obeisances. Vishnum, unto Lord Vishnu. Kapilam, named Kapila. Vedagarbham, the repository of the Vedas. Translation. And who is speaking? And who is she speaking to? Very good. I believe, my Lord, that you are Lord Vishnu himself under the name of Kapila, and you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Brahman. The saints and sages, being freed from all the disturbances of the senses and the mind, meditate upon you. For by your mercy only can one become free from the clutches of the three modes of material nature. At the time of dissolution, all the Vedas are sustained in you only. Also, you say, I believe, my Lord, that you are Lord Vishnu himself, under the name Kapila, and you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Brahman. The saints and sages, being freed from all the disturbances of the senses and mind, meditate upon you, for by your mercy only can one become free from the clutches of the three modes of material nature. At the time of dissolution, all the Vedas are sustained in you only. Purport. Devahuti, the mother of Kapila, instead of prolonging her prayers, summarized that Lord Kapila was none other than Vishnu, and that since she was a woman, it was not possible for her to worship him properly simply by prayers. It was her intention that the Lord be satisfied. The word pratyak is significant. In the yoga practice, the 8 divisions are yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharanya, dhyana, and samadhi. Pratyahara means to wind up the activities of the senses. The level of self-realization, the level of realization of the Supreme Lord, evidenced by Devahuti, is possible when one is able to withdraw the senses from material activities. When one is engaged in devotional service, there's no scope for his senses to be engaged otherwise. In such full Krishna consciousness, one can understand the Supreme Lord as he is. Om Gyanatamarandasya Gyanagana Salakaya Jakshushun Militan Gena Tasari Shri Gurave Namaha. So a few general things first. The foolish persons, of which there's a vast range and variety, one form of foolishness is that they say, if there's God, why doesn't he just come down here and straighten everything out? It's an old country western song. You better hurry back, Jesus, and pick up John Wayne on the way. You know, why don't you come down here and just straighten everything out? Oh, yeah, you know, and what they're really saying is that there's no God. There's just all chaos and confusion. Because if there's God, what's he? You know, he's this man in the sky, but we're all down here dealing with reality. Come on down here and fix it. All right. I've thrown the gauntlet before you Vaishnavas. What's your response, other than Raj and Dravida Prabhu? Huh? Speechless? I've converted you all to atheism? Huh? Damodar, what's your answer? I know, that's why I'm asking you. No, you're busy. Multitasking does not work. It's proven that for the more tasks you add, the less your attention is. I mean, it needs to be done. I'm not criticizing. I'm grateful you're doing it. Okay. They say, if there's God, this world's a mess. We're all fighting and chaos and confusion, and we can't even, like Anantasesh, if he has to chant, he can't even. He's falling behind in glorifying the Lord, with his unlimited heads. If we were to try to chant all the problems in this world, we would fall behind. So why doesn't God just come down and straighten it all out? It's his responsibility. He's in charge. He started this whole circus. So you say, Vaishnavas. So come down and straighten it out. What's your answer? Okay, but within the context, that's true, but within the context of this verse, he comes all the time. He does come. It says there's as many incarnations as waves in the ocean, which you can't even count. Go down here. You got a little spare time? Try it, my friends. Count the waves in the oceans. And Krishna's coming repeatedly. He does come, you idiot. I mean, Hare Krishna. And he ultimately comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that you just open your mouth and vibrate your tongue. What is it? Atasi Krishna Namadi. Just, Jiva with the tongue, you just vibrate Krishna, take prasadam. Even then, at the end of Kali Yuga, when they can't even do that, he just comes and lops their heads off, and they get an automatic reset. You know, it's a cosmic, karmic reset by the grace of Kalki. So, I mean, Krishna's doing everything he possibly can. He's even spoon-feeding us as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's a bogus argument. He even comes, as it's being described here, so many wonderful ways. You know, Krishna says, what is it, of gamblers I'm the cheat, unless it's been reworded. But the principle is there, that Krishna, you know, he's the supreme cheater. Can you give some examples of Krishna as a cheater? Best of cheaters? I can think, in relation to Das avatars. Buddha, very good. How is Buddha a cheater? Yeah, Prabhupada says, there's no God, just worship me, but he's God. So it's transcendental cheating. Yeah, just like you said. Now, what's another way that Krishna's a cheater? Vamanadev. How is he a cheater as Vamanadev? He's just a little boy, and he just wants 3 steps. And even Bali says, you know, you're young and innocent, you're naive, you don't know. 3 steps, you must take more. And what is his, as a brahmachari, what is his response? If I'm not satisfied with 3, then unlimited steps. So they say, oh, Sukacharya is saying, no, no. And Bali Maharaj says, no, you know, take your 3 steps. And we know he, you know, ultimately he took what? The whole planet Earth, and took the whole universe. Sometimes I've heard Prabhupada say he took up, he took down, so there's nothing left. But no, no, I'm still here. You can take me. I'll be your surrendered servant. You put your foot on my head. So he's a transcendental cheater. Now, who's another cheater? Expert. It's the original contract, clause A, clause B, therefore, this, that. Nrsimhadev. Because Hiranyakasipu, you know, he says, please make him immortal. Brahma says, I can't do that. I have to die. No, I can't do that. I can't give you what I don't have. So he said, all right, all right. Not daytime, not nighttime. You know how the whole thing works. Nothing living, nothing dead, no man, no beast. So because Krishna likes to sustain the words of his devotee, kept everything intact and completely cheated him. So Krishna's coming, he does come, like waves of the ocean in unlimited varieties of transcendental ways. Even he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, spoon feeds us. And still we're so foolish. And it gives the criteria here, you know, how Krishna is the supreme Brahman. He's the repository of all the Vedas. And Prabhupada gives the example of, there was some god, some yogi, some Indian guy, advertising himself as God. But, you know, and Prabhupada mentions it a number of times. What did Prabhupada get a particular chuckle out of? Anyone know that showed that he wasn't God? Yeah, he was offering yoga classes, come and see God, and one of Prabhupada's students went to check it out, and God wasn't there. Why wasn't God there? He had a toothache. He had to go to the dentist. The old joke about the yogi who went to the dentist but refused Novocaine. You know why? He wanted to transcend dental medication. Ha ha ha. So the so-called yogi, he's God and he can't even take care of his own tooth, you know? What kind of, I mean, when you think about it, it's just silly. It's so silly, you know? Wasn't Mayor Baba also God and killed in a car accident? I think it's Mayor Baba was killed in a car. I mean, you know, Hare Krishna. So here's there's a criteria, and Devahuti Mataji is giving the criteria for what is the standard of God, not some, you know. You want to dance with the gopis, fine. Then lift Govardhan Hill first, my friend. You know? In other words, it's so bogus. Because they quote, well, you know, Krishna had, what is it, 18,000? 16,000, yeah, sorry about that. Krishna had 16,000 wives. So it's half-hen logic. They accept that part of the Bhagavatam. But what about, even, we had a guy one time who told us he was God. This was a Western guy. This is 1970. Told us he was God, came to the temple, and congratulated us for worshiping him so nicely. He came by to tell us thanks. We were worshiping him nicely. So we asked him, well, you know, just before you eat right off the altar and take everything, we'd like to confirm that can you show us your universal form? And he went like this, whoop! So I looked at I said, hey, I missed it, went right past me, can you do it again? He said, whoop! You know, how would you defeat that? He said, I showed you my universal form. You're just not qualified to see it. Other than our 2 and 3 Prabhupada heroes. Anyone know how you can defeat that from Gita itself? What did Krishna give to Arjuna? He gave him the eyes to see. So I told the guy, I said, hey, give me the eyes to see. I missed it. I missed it the second time too. So even they say that, you know, oh, here's my universal form. This one's easy. Go lift Govardhan Hill. Hey, you don't want to lift Govardhan Hill? Just lift that 6-story apartment building across the street. Let's see what you can do. You know? So it's just silly. So there is a criteria. We know, Krishna's described as the supreme Brahman. There's yogis, there's karmakandis, there's jnanis. There's so many different experts in so many different fields. But we know everything they know, but they don't know what we know. The bhaktas perfectly understand yoga. They perfectly understand jnana. They perfectly understand what is action, what is it, karma kanda, you know, one who sees action and inaction and inaction and action. He's the knower of things. You can say, you know, you engage everything in Krishna's service. Rishikesh, Rishikena. You engage everything in Krishna's service. That's the perfection of action for which there's no karmic reaction. So we understand, you know. So Prabhupada tells a story, just because we've got some young devotees. Prabhupada tells a story about there was how did it work? Narada Muni went to see a jnani, big scholar, big rishi, sage, and they know that Narada Muni, Prabhupada calls him the original transcendental spaceman. By vibrating his vina, he can travel throughout the creation. So Narada Muni says, the yogi says, the jnani says, you're going to see Krishna. Tell me what he was doing. Okay. Narada also stops and sees a bhakta. I think the bhakta was a cobbler, the way Prabhupada tells it. Bhakta was I'm going to get there. I'm telling the story. Because I just heard Prabhupada tell it, so I'm going to tell it the way I heard Prabhupada tell it. So Prabhupada, he goes and he asks, how many lifetimes do I have left? The yogi asks, the jnani. And same with the devotee, how many more births do I have to serve my Lord? So Narada says, Krishna says to Narada, you tell the jnani he has 100 lives left. And you tell the bhakta he has 1 life. This is it, finished, back home, back to Godhead. And knowing what the reaction of the jnani and the bhakta will be, he says, tell them, if they ask what I was doing, tell them I was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. I've heard it tell camel. I think Jesus says camel through the eye of a needle. But anyway, let's go with elephant. So Narada Muni reports back to the jnani, how many lifetimes do I have left? Said, oh, you have 100. What? That many? Why don't you know what is? Oh, all right, he wants to test. What was Krishna doing? He was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. So the jnani says, no, you're a fake Narada. You're on wires. You're fluent on wires. It's not really, you're not really transcendental. I don't believe you. It's all a circus act. So then the Bhakta, he tells the Bhakta what? Last lifetime or whatever. But anyway, the point is the Bhakta asks, and what was Krishna doing? Not in a challenge, not for confirmation, but just he likes to hear. One who's an actual devotee, he doesn't want to just hear Rasa Lila. He likes to hear all of Krishna's activities. How Krishna's creating, sustaining, maintaining, everything. So what was Krishna doing? So he tells him what Krishna's doing. He was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. And the Bhakta begins to dance. And Narada Muni says, what? You believe that? Now, here's the point I wanted to make. That the Bhakta had an intelligent answer. He wasn't just a blind faith, oh, kumbaya, lemming off a cliff. You know, blind faith. He had an intelligent answer. Anyone know the Bhakta's intelligent answer to corroborate? Corroborate the possibility that the Lord was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. Yes, Bhakti Zach. Yeah, it's a small fruit. It's a small little, isn't it? A little round thing. Yeah, he put so many banyan trees in a little tiny... It's a good answer. It's a thoughtful, intelligent answer. So it's not, as is being stated here, it's confirming, it's stated here, that we know how Krishna's we know Krishna's the Supreme Brahman. We know the whole picture. What is Brahmaneti? What is it? Yeah, Brahmaneti, Paramaneti, Bhagavaneti, Shabhyate. We know the whole thing and how it works, and we've got an intelligent answer. It's not blind faith. It's not simplistic. It's profound. Okay, we know everything they know, but they don't know everything we know. Okay, now how are we doing time? Okay. I wanted to get to this point. It's the same point, but it's worth making again. You've got all these big yogis. Vishwamrita fell down twice, right? First time he fell down because he was attracted by Menaka, the ankle bells, heard that, you know? So because of lust, he fell down. Then he recovered, did another 60, is it 60,000 years? Hey, give a few years. You got the principle's the same. And then Menaka came back, or some other Apsara came back. What did he do this time? Second time around. Burned her to ashes. Still he fell down. It's just the other side of the coin. One was attachment, the other was anger. Here's, you know, different sides of the equilibrium. So that's 120,000 years down the drain. You know? So I mean, there's so many examples. I mean, Javarsa was a great yogi and jnani and so many things. Because they're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. It's like, what is it? Is it Occam's razor? That the simplest with the least steps is probably the truth? Huh? Well, I've heard it different ways. But the point is, just like E equals MC squared, it's simple but profound. So we say chant Hare Krishna and your life will be sublime. It's a very simple formula, but it's profound. So they are trying to put a square peg in a round hole. The senses are the cause of the trouble, right? Prabhupada says you can take a poisonous serpent, a basket of cobra, throw them all in a basket, put a lid on it. What will happen after some time? There's hissing and fighting, but put a lid on it in a basket. What happens after some time? They calm down. So the bozo takes the, well, they're quiet now, takes the lid off, sticks his head in. How's it going in there? What happens? Whack! I actually saw this outside of the American Express office when Mumbai was Bombay, back in the mid-70s. There was a snake charmer, and he was, you know, doing his thing. And I was thinking, you know how a snake charmer works? If you ever want to take it up, Dr. Zach. It has nothing to do with the music. You know what it is? It's the serpent has a particular striking distance to actually affect the fangs hitting properly. And he knows his distance. So the yogi has to, the snake charmer has to stay ahead of him. Everything's in the Bhagavad. If you hear from Prabhupada, you'll know everything. Even how to be a snake charmer. Everything's there. So you watch, the snake will lean, the charmer will lean forward, and the snake will adjust to get the right striking distance. But before you can get target lock, that's why they're rocking back and forth. Because they're staying one step ahead of the cobra who's adjusting. Now, what they really need to do is break the fangs, take the poison out, take the fangs out. But I actually saw this in, and I'd heard Prabhupada say this in a lecture, so I was watching the guy. I was waiting for the taxi or whatever it was, and the guy was going back and forth like this. And some so-called beautiful woman went by, and he was inattentive from him. Whack! Cobra got him. Now, I don't think he died, but the cobra got him, and immediately he had an assistant. His assistant put the snake in the basket, and they both hustled off somewhere. I don't know exactly where they went, but this cobra got him because he was distracted. So the point is, with our senses, which are what to do with these senses? You can repress them for lifetimes. Sabara Muni meditating under the water, and he saw some fish copulating. Boom! I lost everything. So what is the answer? Square peg, round hole. If you want to fit the peg in the hole, what has to happen? Don't overthink it. What? You have options. Different sizes, different shapes of pegs and holes. If you want the peg to fit in the hole, what do you have to do? It has to be the same. You have a round hole and a round peg, goes right in. Square peg, square, no problem. So what to do with the senses? But if you gauge them in Krishna's service, no problem. They're completely conquered. One of unless you're a sannyasi, the last line of Gayatri, it starts from meditating on the Brahman being present everywhere, inside all things, the all-pervasive absolute truth as manifested by the sun, which is Krishna's, representative of Brahman in the material world. So it starts from an impersonal, by the grace of one's guru, by the grace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one comes to the point of Brahma, Klim, I don't want to get into it, but ultimately it comes to that the senses are assaulted. Like Cupid attracts the senses, so Krishna's Madan Mohan, the senses become assaulted. No one's more beautiful than Krishna. No one smells nicer than Krishna's hair. When he gets up in the morning, they waft through Krishna's hair a guru wood. Is it a guru wood? Agrani? What's it called? There's a particular type of, you can get the incense. It's a very nice smell. And they burn that wood, and with a bellows, they blow it through Krishna's hair. I mean, who can imagine such a thing? The average American man, when he wakes up, uses an average of 6 to 8 beauty products. Man, women is more. The women it's like 4 or 5 more. Before we can even stand next to another person, you got to brush your teeth, you got to take a bath, you got to do so many, otherwise you're just nasty. But Krishna, anyway. So the point is in so many, and his beauty, his wisdom. I heard Prabhupada say, Bhagavad Gita is famous all over the world. Therefore, people want to push their words in Krishna's mouth because they know Bhagavad Gita is attractive. But Prabhupada says, don't push your words in Krishna's mouth. Prabhupada had expert timing, as a speaker. Prabhupada say, don't put your words in Krishna's mouth. Prabhupada said, write your own book. And then Prabhupada paused and said, and see who's reading it in 5,000 years. So we know all the Bhagavan, all the opulences, how Krishna's all attractive. So the senses become, you can't help but be spontaneously attracted. So that's the secret, engage in devotional service. I wanted to say one other thing. Here's a simple example. Bhakti Zach. Do not think of the color red. How's that working out for you? Anyone else? Hi. Everyone else thinking red, 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 red. Think of the color. Don't think of red, think of blue. Think of blue. What happened to red? It's gone. Blue, you're thinking of blue. Think of green. You know? So if it's supplanted, replaced, eclipsed, then it becomes very easy. So we engage the senses in Krishna's service. It becomes sublime. Takes a little time, but there it is. So the last thing I wanted to say, just for fun, actually I wanted to say two things that will be done. There's a prayer by Raghupati Upanaya. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's in the Padyavali later on by Rupa Goswami. But he meets, in South India, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meets him. And he's a, aristocratic Brahmin, says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he offers this, because we're talking about how Devahuti is saying Kapila is the supreme Brahman. So he says, let others, this is Raghupati Upadhyaya, let others, fearing material existence, worship the Vedas, the Vedic supplementary Puranas, and the Mahabharata. Let them study all this vast pool of knowledge. But I shall worship Nanda Maharaj, in whose courtyard the Supreme Brahman is crawling. The Supreme Brahman is crawling and struggling to lift. He's lifting Govardhan Hill. He's Seshnag, maintaining all the universes. But he's having a little trouble picking up Nanda Maharaj's shoes. Mother Yasoda said, get your father's shoes. And he's having a little trouble navigating, maybe one shoe at a time. So that Supreme Brahman is playing and crawling in Nanda Maharaj's courtyard. So the Vaishnavas, we know don't try to impress us. We know the whole story. But we know the conclusion, the ripened fruit, the prayojan of the Vedas. And, well, do we save that for another thing? It talks about, when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the impersonal path is not easy. So Prabhupada talks about that here. I spent a little time reading about it. This pratyak, what is it? Yeah. I'm just looking for... Yeah, but it works, Prabhupada, yama niyama, that's my point. Prabhupada mentions the first step is yama niyama. And one of the first classes, I think it may even been the first class I ever heard Prabhupada give, I was completely covered by the modes of material nature. So I could not quite hear Prabhupada's sweet Bengali accent, and I was completely in the modes of nature. And I heard Prabhupada say, we have so many, I thought he said donuts. And it was the last thing I gave up. I was vegetarian and all that, big deal, even a pigeon's a vegetarian. But the point is, I love sweets. Thus I have diabetes. The stringent laws of material nature. But, and particularly, I like baked sweets, pies, cakes, and I love donuts. So, which my mind spun off from, which Bhakti, Larry, and Ratnabhushan both know. So, but they have eggs in them in the material world. They had, I wasn't living in the temple. I was coming, but Prabhupada says you can't eat eggs. So and I don't want to eat the minced. Just to give you a graphic picture, it's the menstrual discharge of a chicken. Sorry to be graphic, Prabhus, but lap it up. An egg is a menstrual discharge of a chicken. It's a nasty, nasty thing. But anyway, they used to always put them in baked things. I think they still do. So what to do? I had to give them up. So I heard Prabhupada, we arrived late, and the first thing I heard Prabhupada say, a male ghost haunts a woman, and a woman ghost haunts a male. You do not know these things? I was thinking, ghosts? I said, wait a minute, But anyway, and then I heard Prabhupada say, we have so many donuts. I thought he said donuts. I thought, fantastic. Krishna, I get Krishna, and I get donuts. Sign me up, man. Where do I enlist? But then I listened, I said, oh, he's saying do nots. Prabhupada said every process has yama and niyama. It has do's and do nots. So that's the beginning. There's regulations, do's and do nots. The next thing is there's asana. You have to sit, just like you tell a child, hey, stop that, just sit down. Get over there and sit down. Stop that nonsense and sit down. So just sit down, just control yourself for a moment. And then if you breathe, then there's the pranayama, there's the breathing process. That, okay, one becomes stabilized, the mind becomes stable. Even, what do they say, count to 10, take a deep breath. You know, take a deep breath. That's the one I'm actually looking for. So there it is. It works. Okay, but these are just preliminary stages. It's not, you know, the perfection. And then the other, pratyahara, that's what word I was thinking. Pratyahara, I looked for the different word for it. It means to go inward. To start looking, okay, I cut off my sinful, I'm not sitting there in a lotus smoking a beedi, you know. I've stopped the nonsense. I'm sitting down. I'm breathing steadily, peacefully. One starts to become contemplative or contemplative. One begins to go inward. But that in and of itself is not enough. I mean, we've got our Christopher Columbus, Magellan, Vasco da Gama, you know, all the explorers of the outside world. You've got your, you know, whatever it is. You know, what is it? One small step for man, one great step for mankind. Fine, they say they've gone to the moon or whatever they're doing. The Vedas, there's a whole other internal world. They have their explorers, they have their maps, they have their compasses for exploring the world of consciousness. It's the same, you know, just by the law of averages. There's intelligent people everywhere. There's explorers everywhere. So you're so proud of your Western explorers to go where no man has gone before, you know. Well, what about those who've gone to the internal world? So that's pratyahara. You calm down, you sit peacefully, you start to think. And then what's the next thing? This was anyway. Prabhupada goes to dharana. But he says, it's different from dhyana. I was wondering, what is the difference? And one is that in that, when you start to go inward, then it's steady, it's trance, it's controlled meditation. One begins delving inside. What's going on? What do they, you know, do you think mindfully? Or someone sent me a Buddhist, there's a Buddhist couple, a husband and a wife, and they're deep in silent meditation. And they both don't look very happy. And the Buddhist nun, the wife, says to her Buddhist monk husband, she says, the depth of your wrongness is inconceivable. So, you know, what are you thinking about inside? Somebody told me, oh, meditation, just worrying without content. You know, your mind's, but you know, you don't want to focus it on anything, you know, just worrying without content. So what is the next step? After all those different steps, one begins to say, wait a minute, I'm something different. I'm not this body. I'm not this mind. I'm the self. So then that dhyana yoga is when one actually begins to meditate on the self as separate from the body, and I'm also dependent. One comes to the point of the supersoul. And then ultimately one comes to what is samadhi? When one actually understands the self, and the supreme self, and the relation. So it's a very nuanced, scientific, step-by-step process. It's a profound science. And to go through all these steps and finally come to the point of understanding Krishna and oneself and engaging in devotional service, it's a lot of hard work to go there by the impersonal route. Therefore, Krishna says, don't waste your time with it. Then you have to give up the whole thing, you know. So, and this is the last thing I want to say. It will all be accomplished. All those different steps of niyama, yama, asana, what is it? Prahara, what is the pranayam, then all the different steps, just by chanting nice japa. If we say, and once again, we know what they know, but we know even more. We know what they don't know. If one sits and chants nice japa, hearing the sound, just absorbed in hearing the Hare Krishna mantra, spontaneously thoughts of Krishna will come. But automatically all these, one sits peacefully, the breathing becomes controlled, one goes inward. Everything is there within the process of simply chanting Hare Krishna mantra. It is the perfection, the apex of yoga. Perfectly designed for us in the age of Kali. And it's so amazing, if we just think about it. It's so easy and so perfectly designed, and yet it propels one across the whole scope of Vedic knowledge to the perfection, Krishna's lotus feet, pure devotional service in Vrindavan. It's like if you were walking down the street, you know, what is it? Step on a crack, break your mother's back? You know, as a kid, you say, you know. So you're just walking down the street, and all of a sudden you step on a square, and boom! It propels you right out of this, you know, zing! You're flying to Mars, you know. You just happened to step on the right square, and off you went. Just by enchanting the holy name, one blasts past everything, karma, jnana, yoga, and lands in Vrindavan, Braja Bhumi, pure devotional service, Krishna's lotus feet, all the way up to Madhurya Ras. It is an absolute mind blower. And we can end there. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. And the tongue has two functions, vibrating, and what's the other? Take prasadam. Huh? Yeah, that's cannibalized burritos. Such a nice life. What is it? Anticipation gives rise to the greatest satisfaction. So we missed it yesterday, now you get it today. Ganga, what brings you here? Are you driving a truck?
Thank God, no. No, I'm just getting some respite from the desert.
Acha.
Done my time.
You know, we had that opening of the Las Vegas temple.
Yeah, I heard about it.
For the first time, there's a certain beauty in the desert. I always thought, man, this is
Nice sunsets.
a nice sunset. It is.
What follows are stories narrated by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, taken from his classes, morning walks and conversations.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
You know the story of Alexander the Great and the thief. Alexander the Great arrested one thief and he was going to punish him. The thief pleaded, "Sir, you are going to punish me, but what is the difference between you and me? I am a small thief, you are a great thief, that's all. You are by force occupying others' kingdom and you have no right, but because you are strong, somehow or other you have got the opportunity